Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Shem Abishai by Hashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered among the heathen nations that be like unto the speckled bird. To the Akwaf that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. And this is, first and foremost, this is a response to a question that a brother named Anthony Negron had that's on the comment board. And I guess, you know, this is also could be part two to this video with this rabbi, Dr. Maurice Mizrahi, pretty much admits or tells you that the Romans were indeed Edomites, and that all the Europeans that all European Christians basically descended out of the Romans, and that they're all Edomites. Of course, he left out the fact that the convert Jewish people are Edomites as well, but nevertheless, he dropped that truth bomb, and he's yet one of many accredited, educated, mainstream accepted people, you know, among the Jewish community scholars who have said this much. This is even in many volumes of many different Jewish encyclopedias. But nevertheless, the question, let's go down to the question that was on the comment board. Anthony Negron, here it is. And it says, the water for your great history lesson and knowledge, but can you explain how Zechariah 9 and 6 relates to Esau? I'm still in the early stages and coming into the truth, Ak. So it sounds like a sincere question from a sincere brother, so I'm going to answer him. And even if it wasn't a sincere brother, it's still going to be, you know, edifying to the body. All right. So let's go to Zechariah 9 and 6 and let's read that. And it reads, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. All right. A bastard. So let me just grab this Webster's thesaurus from behind me. (1933), I believe. This thesaurus. The writing may be too dark to actually see it on the side of the book here. Maybe I can Rogers Thesaurus, English Language and Dictionary Form Library Edition, Norman Lewis. Copyright 1931. Okay, so here you go. Library of Congress. Wait, let's see if we can. There we go. See, they don't have books like this anymore. They don't. Because you best believe modern day definitions have all been revised. They revised books like this because it just told too much truth. But in the midst of their pride, they never just expected, you know, that you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans would actually read books like this. So they basically wrote all the truth right there in their books, which is why they so many books get revised. You have the 6th, 7th, and 8th edition of books, and they'll tell you it's to match with modern times, which is just an excuse, a lie. But let's find this word. I know it's in here. I've read it. Maybe if I went to... There it is. Found it. Let's put a mark by it. Okay, here we go. Let's bring this into focus and read it through the camera. See if it will actually focus. Hold on, Salakia. There it is. It says bastard, bantling, bilo, illegitimate child, love child, fraud, fake, phony, sham, falseness. So we go back to the scripture. In his question, there it is, Anthony Negron's question. It says, to water for your great history lesson and knowledge, but can you explain Zechariah 9 and 6 relates to Esau? I'm still in early stages of coming into the truth, Ak. So, once again, and a bastard, a fraudulent, fake, phony, shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So the Bible prophesied that there will be a fraudulent, fake, phony people in the land of Ashdod. Ashdod is in the land of Israel. The Bible prophesied it. All right? So you have to ask yourself when, and how is that going to happen? Well, that's talking about now. Okay? You can connect that to the Balfour Declaration. And the Balfour Declaration is explained in Ezekiel 36 and 5. So let's go to Ezekiel. All right? This is the book of Ezekiel 36 and 5. And it reads, therefore thus saith Yahweh power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. So it's speaking against the heathen, but it named Idumea. It singled them out. All right? Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. Okay? And if you watch this video, the rabbi explains to you who Edom is. Leaving himself out, of course, but he explains to you who Edom is. Because he left out the fact that the Jewish converts basically come from the same line that Herod did. That Herod was indeed an Edomite, a Roman, who was converted to following the Jewish ways, more than likely from the time of John Hyrcanus of the Hasmonean dynasty, which were the Maccabees. Hence the reason why Edom removed the Maccabees from the Bible. They were trying to hide the truth. Okay? But it says, against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their hearts, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. So that was a future prophecy. All right? And so when you look at the Balfour Declaration, which was declared shortly after World War I, and in World War II they implemented it. And in World War II, a fake, fraudulent, phony people, bastards, appointed the land of Israel into their own hands. All right? And now, and there was a time when these people admitted they were converts, and then somewhere around, I do believe it was in the 16th or 18th century, if I'm not mistaken, they started saying that they were the actual people. However it goes, it really doesn't matter. They are not the people, and they're claiming to be the Israelites, and they fulfilled biblical prophecy when they did that. They fulfilled. So that's the relation of Zechariah 9 and 6 to Esau. So now let's go to Joel. All right, actually, let me read Ezekiel 36 all the way through one more time. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their hearts and with the spiteful minds that cast it out for a prey. So the real Israelites were cast out for a prey. They were cast out of the land of Israel, and they went into slavery and were scattered among all the heathen around the four corners of the earth. And the main place where they all came to was America, the Americas. And the United States of America is the one place in the world that has where all 12 tribes are dwelling together, still separate, but they are the 12 tribes. Outside of the ones who have woken up to the fact that they are the Israelites, the majority of the 12 tribes don't deal with each other and walk around their daily lives as if they're not the same people. You have many Israelites that know they're Israelites, especially in the northern kingdom. I mean, in the southern kingdom, Salakia, that don't acknowledge the northern kingdom. And now you got northern kingdomers who acknowledge they're Israelites but don't acknowledge the southern kingdom. All that is prophesied. There are women who should not be teaching at all, but they proclaim their Hebrew heritage and go on and actually have monetized videos and make money. That teach every day when they shouldn't be. The scriptures clearly forbid it, but they're on that black only Israelite thing, and they probably don't acknowledge the New Testament, which they're going off, because the New Testament is nothing but the prophets, the disciples teaching the Old Testament. That's all it is. It's all one book. It's not a different book with a whole new message or anything like that. The New Testament is the documentation of the disciples teaching the Old Testament, teaching and repeating the prophets. That's all it is. And it tells you in that book that women are to be silent and to not to speak in the churches and not to usurp the authority over the man. It tells you that. So you women who had this platform to have all these listeners, 99% of you are going off. And what I mean by that is that, acknowledging you're an Israelite is one thing, but leave the teaching of our heritage and our ways to the men. All right? You really need to do that. You women and you women who and some of you I know watch my videos, because I can hear it in your speech. Just as many of you, I watched your videos. All right? But I'm only telling you that out of love. So, getting back to the lesson, that's just something that needed to be said. But going to the book of Joel, relating this whole thing together, let's go to the book of Joel, to the 3rd chapter of Joel. Amos, Joel, there we go. Yeah, this is Joel, the 3rd chapter, and I'm going to start at, actually, I'll just start at verse 1. I'm going to read all the way to verse 9. Okay? And it reads, "For behold, in those days and in that time shall I bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." So let's talk about both the northern and the southern kingdom. So-called Negroes and the so-called natives and Latins of America. There's this one particular sister that I'm actually rather fond of, who constantly speaks about the northern kingdom as if they're not our people. All right? And I just saw a report, the number one killer of the so-called black man in America is law enforcement. But it also turns out that the number one killer of the Gadites, so-called Native Americans, is also law enforcement. But they're keeping that out of the media. And one of the reasons why they're doing that is because they want to keep that separation. You have to understand, these E's do not want children of Israel to come together. They want that separation. That's why they did that. All right? And you people who deny the northern kingdom, that's because you don't understand prophecy. And you don't have a grip on true and real history. All right? As I've said many a times, the majority of the Hebrew relics that were found among the natives. More found among them actual Hebrew relics that go back to the ancient Hebrew and back to the land of Israel more than it was found among the so-called Negroes. That's facts. All right? There's so much evidence that was found here in the Americas that these people came from the East. With the customs they were keeping, and with the languages they were speaking, and with the relics that they had that came clearly from Egypt and the land of Israel, and even a few from Europe. All right? But back to the scripture, it says, for behold, in those days, and in that time shall I bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. He's going to bring it back, take it away. And I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. That being the key factor, because that matches up to Zechariah, and it also matches up to Ezekiel 36 and 5. All right, because the land of Israel was parted between Edomites and Ishmaelites. All right, between the Jewish and the Palestinians. Because the true Palestinians were Africans, so-called Africans, Hamites, the sons of Ham. All right, they were not Ishmaelites. And the Palestinians today are majority Ishmaelites. Are there Israelites among them? Yes. Because why? The Israelites got scattered to all the nations of the earth, creating that confusion and creating that speckled bird. All right. Verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Both the northern and southern kingdom was sold on slave ships. That's why it was called a triangular slave trade. As a matter of fact, the slave trade started with so-called Latinos and Native Americans. Christopher Columbus, Seville, Spain became the reverse slave trader of the world. Christopher Columbus started bringing them over by the thousands. All right. They sent those ships to the west coast of Africa. It was almost 100 years later from the time that they started with the northern kingdom. All right. Verse 4. Yeah, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? So it seems like a long time to us, but it's really a short time to the Lord. Because remember, in I think it's 1st or 2nd Peter 3 and 8, it tells you that a 1,000 years to the Lord, to us, is only one day to the Lord. All right, so this was just a moment ago that they did this horrible thing to the Lord's people, man. That's why he's gathering them in the valley of Jehoshaphat. The valley of Jehoshaphat is over there where all these basically Syria. That's the valley of Jehoshaphat. So all the nations, and then look at the world economy and the sanctions and the things that are happening. The whole world is being drawn into that. Why? Because he's going to plead with the heathen. Hence, we're being demonized in America. They're trying to build up a case slowly but surely, which is not going to work, but it's just going to come and move against us anyway because it's scriptural. It has to happen. Just like all these prophecies had to happen. All right? Verse 5, because ye have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly and pleasant things. Is that not statues commemorating, the Judah Copter coins that came out of Rome? The Ark of Titus, when they showing you all the Roman Edomites walking away with all the holy relics from the temples of Judea. Verse 6, the children also of Judah, which is so-called Negroes, Latino, known to Negroes, so-called Negroes, so-called Haitians, and the so-called Jamaicans and the people of the islands, Trinidad, etc. That's the tribe of Benjamin. The Haiti is the tribe of Levi. All right. And the children of Jerusalem, which is the so-called Latinos and Native Americans. Have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border? So both were sold to the new Grecians, which were Edomites. All right. That's fact. That's history. That happened. Behold, I will raise them up out of the place whether you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And that's where we are now, and that's why they're so mad. All right? That's why they are so mad. As a matter of fact, in Jeremiah 50 and 33, that scripture also goes right with it, because that prophecy is important. It says that they were oppressed together. Even though they're mostly separate, they're still being oppressed together. This is Jeremiah 50 and 33, and it reads, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast and refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahweh of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their case, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon, which is America. America is Babylon. All right? And it will be disquieted. And he's going to plead with them. And the scriptures say he's going to plead with them with fire. He's going to destroy them. All right? Back to the Joel 3, verse 8. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for Yahweh has spoken it. And this is why they're so angry. Because we're telling them the Bible is talking about recompense and payback. And they don't want to pay restitution, but they're going to pay more than restitution. Because why? This is Revelation 13 and 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that killeth with the sword. And it's funny how Esau's blessing was a sword back in Genesis, the 25th chapter. All right? Or the 27th chapter. All right? I believe it says, by the sword thou shalt live. That was part of his blessing. I mean, he's going to be a hijacker, a robber, a marauder. All right? And it says, I read it again. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So he that leadeth into slavery shall go into slavery. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Their law enforcement kill us all the day long with the sword. The modern day sword is a gun. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. The saints are the Israelites, and they're patiently waiting to put into slavery and to kill with the sword those that did that unto them. Revelation 18 and 6 says, give unto them double. Let's read that. Revelation 18 and 6, reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In a cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. So we got roughly 500 years of slavery. That's also how you know that the northern kingdom was included, because the captivity of Judah was not 500 years. But once you add in the northern kingdom, it was. It's over 500 years, actually. So it said, give unto her double. So when the prophets, when we say that they have 1,000 years of slavery coming, they do. Hence the reason why they're so angry and want to vilify you and make you a terrorist for reading the Bible and speaking its truth and identifying them. Because they're really the criminals masquerading as the righteous on the run from justice. But you can't run from the Lord. Right? You can't. You can't run from the Lord, man. And let me go back to Joel, the 9th chapter now. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 8 again. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for Yahweh hath spoken it. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man. Let them all draw near. Let them come up. And that's what's happening. That is what's going on, and we're hated. And Esau is in a position of power ruling the earth. And he's using his weaponized media to vilify us for reading and bringing out these prophecies. Not that we're physically doing anything to them. We're just reading the scriptures. And it's got people in high places and important people very, very nervous. Because, you know, they know that they have but a short time. And this quagmire that they've gotten themselves into, there's no way out of it except war. And this is a war that they're going to lose. All right? They started going down like in 1969, 1970. That's why they got smashed in Vietnam. And it's pretty much lost majority of their conflicts since then. And the proof of that is how long their conflicts last. You know, 18-year wars, 15-year wars, and all that kind of mess. But Galatians Why can't I find Galatians right now? I believe Galatians 4:16 is where it says that, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? I was hunting for that. Ephesians. There it is, Galatians 4. Yep, 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And that's where we are. So I hope this was an edifying lesson, that the brother Anthony Negron, that you and anyone else who was watching was edified. Call Halal Yahweh Bashem Abishai Bashem Rakar Kwadash Wa Abba Babal. Shalom.